Welcome to Mindset Matters Book Club YouTube channel. Please subscribe and like to hear new book summaries.
We have an absolutely essential deep dive today, one that I think really challenges decades of, well, accepted and often fear-based wisdom about aging and women's health.
Yeah, we are cracking open the book Age Like a Girl by Dr. Mindy Pelz.
And this book, it offers a fundamentally revolutionary thesis about one of the most misunderstood biological transitions a woman goes through.
I think revolutionary is exactly the right word because the foundational argument here is that menopause is not some kind of biological failure.
Right, or this inevitable, dreaded decline that you're just supposed to fear or, medicate away.
Exactly. Dr. Pelz positions it as a deliberate, purposeful evolutionary upgrade. It's a necessary neurochemical and physical remodeling that prepares you, the listener, for authenticity, for clarity, and for true leadership.
It's a huge shift in perspective.
This whole deep dive is really about understanding how to honor this transition instead of just being afraid of the symptoms.
It is. It's moving from being a patient in your story to being the protagonist.
Yeah.
And Dr. Pelz brings such a unique lens to this.
She does.
She is, first and foremost, a doctor of chiropractic.
Mm-hmm.
So her entire professional approach is really focused on the body's own innate power to heal itself.
The nervous system as the conductor of everything.
Precisely. And her 25 years with patients really shaped this core belief that if you can fix the lifestyle interference, the stress, whether it's physical, emotional, or chemical, the body will find its balance. It performs miracles.
And the real power of this book, for me at least, comes from the fact that she's not just writing this as a clinician.
No, she's lived it.
She's a woman who personally navigated what she calls this arduous shift herself. She talks so openly about confronting decades of performance-based worthiness.
That people-pleasing behavior that so many of us learned,
Yeah.
She realized it just wasn't sustainable anymore.
That's the core of the psychological transition, isn't it?
It really is. She describes how she had to step inward, how she had to carve out time to just be alone. And she realized that learning how to say no, that became her new superpower.
Which sounds simple, but it's incredibly difficult.
Always painful. She talks about the body anxiety, the emotional turbulence, but it was absolutely necessary. So this isn't just some biological theory for her.
No, it's an embodied, hard-won truth she's sharing.
That dual perspective, the clinical expertise, and that raw personal experience, it's so potent.
It really is. It allows her to synthesize this deep biological science with what it actually feels like, in the real world.
And speaking of the real world, the initial data she highlights, it just immediately grabs your attention. It lays bare the consequences of misunderstanding this whole process.
It really does. I mean, we all know the common symptoms. We talk about brain fog, the sudden weight gain, irritability, insomnia.
Loss of libido, yeah. All of that is difficult enough, but this is where the book really reveals the hidden crisis.
Okay, let's unpack this startling data, because this is where you understand the true stakes. The decade between 45 and 55. It's cited as the most common time for female suicide.
It's a devastating statistic. It suggests this profound crisis of identity and stability is happening.
And that crisis isn't just internal. Look at the relationships.
Right. 70% of divorces that happen after the age of 40 are initiated by women. 70%.
Oh, that is a massive societal and personal upheaval. It signals that something tectonic is happening right beneath the surface. This is so much more than just dealing with hot flashes.
It is, and it raises the central question that the book really tries to answer. What immense hormonal and neurochemical force is driving so many women to just fundamentally reassess and often dismantle the lives they've spent decades building?
So is the book arguing that this huge spike in divorce is actually a positive indicator? Like it's the natural outcome of the brain remodeling itself?
That is precisely the thesis. The brain is undergoing this massive crisis of stability because it's shedding the old neurochemical structure that supported the compliant, people-pleasing self.
So your body is essentially forcing the issue.
It's pushing you to confront the incongruence between who you really are and who you've been pretending to be. So our mission today is to dive deep into that remodeling process, understand the science, and then give you the tools to navigate it.
Okay, so the first big hurdle the book addresses is reframing the whole conversation, moving away from fear and decline.
And towards honor and opportunity. Dr. Pelz talks about how difficult it was for her to even write the book because she knew the narrative had to be so radically different from what society tells us.
She had to live the transformation before she could write about it.
Exactly. She realized her old identity, the one built around pleasing others and performing, It wasn't just hard to maintain, it was actively draining her health.
And the book really hinges on that realization, the chaos, the change. It's so disorienting because it forces you inward to find a true, authentic voice.
A voice that for many women has been silenced since they were teenagers.
So menopause, through this lens, is an opportunity to finally come home to your authentic self.
It sounds difficult for sure, but ultimately necessary for that deeper level of personal integration. You're moving from a life of conformity to a life of congruence.
I like that. And to back this up, to provide the evidence for this upgrade, she takes us deep into evolutionary biology.
To show that this is not an anomaly, this is the grand design.
Which brings us to one of the most compelling biological arguments in the entire book, the grandmother hypothesis.
Yes, championed by the anthropologist Dr. Kristen Hawkes. This concept is so vital because it completely reframes the whole story of aging.
It addresses a simple biological fact that we just don't talk about.
We don't. That human women are one of only a handful of mammals like orca whales who spend a huge portion of their lives, over 40%, in a post-reproductive state.
So if evolution was only about making babies, this long post-reproductive life would seem like a huge flaw.
A massive biological flaw. But Hawkes argues the exact opposite. It's not a flaw. It's an evolutionary upgrade.
Okay, so the energy that the body was using for reproduction, for ovulating, menstruating, all of that, it doesn't just disappear.
It is radically redirected. That energy is rerouted toward enhanced fitness, stronger cognition, and making a deeper social impact.
Your brain and body are getting a systemic energy infusion.
For the purpose of leading the tribe, it's a promotion.
And we see a clear, real-world blueprint for this in the Hadza tribe in Tanzania.
The Hadza blueprint. The Hadza grandmothers are the living, breathing illustration of this evolutionary heroine. Their daily life is, well, it's demanding.
What does that look like?
They rise at dawn, they're armed with a digging stick and the wisdom of decades, and they forage for food, mostly wild tubers buried deep in the soil, for up to 7 hours a day.
7 hours. And crucially, they do this in a naturally fasted state.
Yes. They're relying on strength and knowledge built over a lifetime. This is an incredible feat of endurance. It demands peak fitness and a really sharp, focused mind.
And if you look deeper at the neurochemistry of that daily routine, it's a built-in reset that modern life just completely lacks.
Oh, absolutely. Think about what they're doing. It's rhythmic, repetitive, low-intensity movement, often in a community. They're grounded to the earth, connected with nature.
That rhythmic activity plus the fasting, it's one of the most powerful brain-supporting things we know of.
Their brains aren't chaotic and inflamed. They're in a state of flow. They're getting dopamine from successfully finding food, serotonin from those strong social bonds, and GABA from the regulated, non-stressful pace of their day.
And because they are foraging while fasted, they're running on ketones.
Yes.
Yeah.
Those small, steady energy molecules from burning fat. And as the book details, ketones sharpen focus. They lift mood. They calm the whole nervous system. They're metabolically robust because their lifestyle absolutely demands it.
And their value doesn't stop with just finding food.
Not at all. They get back to camp,
Yeah.
and they engage in storytelling. They share the history, the wisdom of the land, the lineage of their ancestors. This is an ancient neurochemical tool.
I find this connection so fascinating. Storytelling, the act of retrieving and sharing your personal episodic memory.
Knowledge tied to a specific time and place.
It directly stimulates the production of acetylcholine. That's the vital neurotransmitter for memory and attention.
So the sheer act of passing on generational wisdom is like giving your hippocampus, your memory center, a rigorous daily workout.
It creates brain patterns that anchor the whole community in safety and shared values. And what's critical here is the shift to altruism.
Yes, the Hadza grandmothers make sure every belly in the group is full. Sometimes they sacrifice their own portion. And the book points out that this generosity isn't depleting them.
It's regulating them.
It's regulating. That pro-social behavior releases oxytocin and endorphins. It strengthens her nervous system. It reminds her that she carries the weight of the tribe's memory and survival. Her purpose has shifted from reproduction to leadership, and her body supports that.
We see this validated again with the orca parallel.
The orcas. It's remarkable. They are one of the few other species with this long post-reproductive life, and they use the postmenopausal females for leadership, especially when food is scarce.
The data on this is incredible. Studies have shown that when a pod has the wisdom of a post-reproductive female, the offspring in that pod grow to be 15% larger.
15%. That is a massive, measurable survival advantage. And it's conferred purely by the leadership and knowledge of the older female. It's undeniable.
Her purpose shifts entirely from birthing to leadership and legacy.
And it seems our culture in the past even recognized this shift. The anthropologist Margaret Mead.
She coined the term post-menopausal zest back in the 50s.
She did. Mead saw that the end of reproductive responsibilities meant a new kind of freedom from intense societal expectations. It allowed women to focus on self-empowerment, explore new interests, and make a real civic impact.
She saw that renewed energy as a chance to redefine their entire lives outside of those established roles.
So the core takeaway, whether you look at biology, anthropology, or early cultural observation, it's consistent.
The renewed energy, the wisdom, the leadership of the grandmother, it was critical to our survival. She was an evolutionary heroine.
So our current culture's insistence on making aging this fear-filled experience is it's biologically unwarranted.
Women are getting mentally and metabolically stronger as they age,
making us phenomenal leaders. The menopausal transition isn't a breakdown. It's a journey back to ourselves, allowing us to finally do life on our own authentic terms.
Okay, so that really reframes the why. But now we have to get into the neurological how. If menopause is a transition to power, why does it feel so chaotic? Why the depression, the anxiety, the irritability?
And this leads us to the book's concept of the shedding of neurochemical armor.
This is such a crucial concept for anyone in the middle of that perimenopausal turbulence.
It is. During your reproductive years, estrogen wasn't just a sex hormone. It was a potent neurostimulator. It acted like a superconductor, calling on this robust crew. Dr. Pelz calls them estrogen's girl gang of up to 12 critical neurochemicals.
So which ones are we talking about?
We're talking about the heavy hitters, the mood and cognition regulators, dopamine for motivation, serotonin for stability and happiness, GABA for calming anxiety.
All the things that maintain a sharp brain, buffer stress, and keep your memory firing.
Exactly. This hormonal cocktail provided a layer of neurochemical armor that kept your mood and your mind stable.
So when estrogen declines so steeply in perimenopause, that armor literally sheds.
It just falls away. You potentially lose the steady support of close to a dozen neurochemicals that kept you sharp and predictable.
And that perfectly explains why so many women describe mentally struggling. It feels like you don't have the same relationship with your own brain anymore.
The emotional chaos that follows, the anxiety, the mood swings, feeling chronically overwhelmed. It's not a character flaw. It's a massive, real chemical shift.
But this chaos isn't accidental. It's a necessary disruption.
It's the disruption that facilitates the Brain Remodel Project, a concept from the neuroscientist Dr. Lisa Mosconi.
Right. Dr. Mosconi's research is groundbreaking. It shows that the female brain undergoes these profound architectural changes during 3 big hormonal transitions:
Puberty, the postpartum period, and menopause.
And in each of those phases, the brain literally remodels itself. It prunes old connections and builds new ones to prepare you for the next phase of life.
And, just like any home renovation, it is messy. The brain fog, the forgetfulness, the memory lapses, these are not permanent signs of decline.
They're temporary symptoms of the pruning process.
The brain is actively clearing out old, inefficient neural pathways to make room for new, more resilient ones. This is necessary for the new menopausal brain to emerge.
A brain that's far better suited for that next phase of life, which, as we established, is leadership.
And this remodeling fundamentally changes the nature of your thinking. It involves a major shift in the relational brain.
Okay, break that down. What was the relational brain?
So during reproductive years, estrogen optimized this relational cross-reference network. It amplified your ability to multitask, to track subtle social cues, to manage empathy.
All the skills you need for managing a family or a big social group.
Yes. We were neurochemically optimized for harmony and connection.
So we were built to please.
In a way, yes. But as estrogen declines, those circuits reorganize. The brain actively shifts toward a more lateralized and independent processing style.
Okay, what does that feel like in practice? A lateralized, independent processing style.
It means your brain is no longer optimizing for group harmony or making these complex emotional calculations about everyone else's feelings. It's optimizing for rapid decision-making based on your own internal, authentic truth.
That's why women suddenly find noise and ambiguity and people-pleasing so intolerable.
Exactly. The neurochemical buffer that supported those relational strategies is just gone. And the new brain is designed to conserve energy by setting clear, independent boundaries.
And that affects behavior so deeply. It ties right back to the psychological shift documented decades ago by Carol Gilligan.
Gilligan's work was revolutionary. In the 80s, she documented what she called the silencing of the female voice.
She observed that around puberty, girls, because of hormonal shifts and that developing relational brain, they started to prioritize caring for others over their own inner needs.
They implicitly learned to subordinate their own identity to fit into this patriarchal power-over mindset, where their worth comes from, how much they give, or how compliant they are.
And that becomes the neurochemical basis for a lifetime of people-pleasing.
But now, witness the menopausal reversal. When estrogen and its girl gang retreat, that relational brain shifts. Women no longer have the neurochemicals that supported that decades-long performance.
So the irritability, the anxiety, the depression, it's often from realizing that you're living a life that's totally out of sync with your true, unsilenced self.
It's your brain sending an unmistakable signal. It's saying, I can no longer keep playing by society's rules. It's an internal revolt.
It's a beautiful, if painful, act of self-preservation.
It is. The brain remodels itself so you literally cannot hold back your beliefs or suppress your needs anymore. The suffering is often the body's way of saying, it's time to take off the mask.
This is the moment you become intensely interested in pleasing yourself.
And a lot less interested in complying with what culture expects.
And this journey of emergence leads perfectly to the concept of the initiation, which is so beautifully articulated by Clarissa Pinkola Estes.
Estes views menopause not as an ending, but as this crucial, transformative beginning, an initiation, a necessary rite of passage to return home to your authentic self.
So if Gilligan detailed the moment the voice was lost at puberty,
Estes affirms that this transition is the unavoidable moment to take that voice back.
and that requires the difficult act of turning inward. It's the threshold where all the outer layers, the roles like fixer, caregiver, perfect spouse, they have to fall away.
And what's left underneath is that deep, raw, feminine wisdom that was buried by all the compliance.
The focus shifts dramatically. Instead of asking, what does my partner or my boss or my kids need from me?
The driving question becomes, what do I need to become now? Who am I? Separate from all my roles.
And Dr. Pelz emphasizes this shift isn't selfish.
No, it's sacred. When a woman reclaims her voice, she becomes that compassionate, clear-seeing elder the world so desperately needs. The menopausal brain isn't designed to stay quiet. It's rebuilt to find confidence and clarity and passion from within.
Okay, so if the first two parts explain the why and the how, part 3 is the essential actionable roadmap. This is the lifestyle toolbox designed to work with this shift.
To accelerate the remodel and mitigate the chaos. And a lot of it is inspired by our Hadza ancestors.
We're rebuilding the foundation, starting with that very real problem of brain fog.
When estrogen declines, the estrogen-memory connection is immediately impacted. It supported 3 critical brain molecules for cognitive function: BDNF, acetylcholine, and glutamate.
Okay, let's break those down, starting with BDNF.
BDNF is brain-derived neurotrophic factor. Think of it as Miracle-Gro for your brain cells. It stimulates new neuron growth and strengthens existing connections.
Essential for learning and memory.
And when estrogen, which promoted BDNF, declines, that photolizer dries up. And that leads directly to that feeling of cognitive decline.
Okay, and then acetylcholine.
Acetylcholine is the primary neurotransmitter that regulates attention and focused memory retrieval. It's the signaling molecule that lets you grab a thought accurately.
And glutamate.
Glutamate is the main excitatory neurotransmitter. It fuels quick thinking and neuroplasticity. But without GABA to calm it down, too much glutamate can make you feel anxious and hypervigilant.
And without estrogen driving this cocktail, you get those memory lapses, that feeling of your brain's internal Wi-Fi being glitchy.
The good news is the brain is profoundly adaptable. We can intentionally boost these molecules using simple ancestral tools. The first one is boosting acetylcholine through storytelling.
This sounds almost too simple, but it's a form of primal medicine.
It is. Our hunter-gatherer grandmothers didn't need brain training apps. They kept their minds sharp by sharing knowledge and personal stories.
Why does this simple act work so well?
The physical act of retrieving and articulating complex personal knowledge, of sequencing events and attaching meaning to them, it's like a rigorous workout for the hippocampus.
It powerfully stimulates acetylcholine production, so the more you use that episodic memory pathway, the stronger it gets.
And there's a social benefit, too. The book notes that emotionally compelling stories don't just help the teller, they trigger the release of oxytocin in the listener.
promoting compassion and deep social bonding.
So whether you mentor someone, teach a skill, or start a storytelling circle with friends, you're using this powerful, free, dual-action neurochemical tool.
Okay, the second vital tool for reclaiming cognition is movement, specifically for BDNF. We need that miracle grow back.
We do. And while all movement is good, the book singles out one type as the most efficient BDNF booster: resistance training, lifting heavy weights.
When you lift heavy, your muscles release a metabolite called lactate.
And the connection between lactate and BDNF is astounding. So we're not just lifting weights for muscle tone, we're building resilience against cognitive decline.
That's incredible.
Lactate is a powerhouse molecule. It crosses the blood-brain barrier and directly stimulates BDNF production right in the hippocampus. So when you pick up a heavy dumbbell, you're not just building muscle. You are literally building a better brain.
Okay, so that's cognition. But what about the emotional side? Why does it feel so violent? That brings us to the mood molecule orchestra.
When estrogen exits, the primary mood regulators, dopamine, serotonin, GABA, and oxytocin, they just become chaotic and unstable.
Let's look at the specific impacts. First, dopamine.
Dopamine drops. And that leads to that profound lack of drive and motivation, that menopausal malaise. If you feel like you just can't get going, that's dopamine fatigue.
Then serotonin dips.
Right, which often causes that persistent, low-grade depression, deep motivation loss, and it really disrupts sleep patterns.
And at the same time, GABA, the brain's brake pedal, drops off.
Which is why women become more reactive, edgy, and anxious. GABA isn't modulating glutamate effectively, so the brain is just running hot.
And finally, oxytocin sensitivity shifts.
Estrogen previously helped us feel that strong pull toward connection, the tend and befriend response. The decline of estrogen makes the brain less sensitive to oxytocin.
Which is why people-pleasing suddenly becomes neurochemically unattractive, even repulsive.
The toxic draining connection no longer provides the reward or the calm it once did.
So if the brain is forcing us to confront a lack of purpose, the primary antidote has to be finding power in purpose.
Absolutely. Purpose-driven activities trigger both dopamine for the reward and serotonin for deep contentment. And the research is clear. Doing pro-social things like volunteering or mentoring, especially face-to-face, it maximizes this neurochemical lift.
It helps you transition from that frantic performance-based pace to meaningful action.
And speaking of maximizing that lift, the book emphasizes seeking novelty and freedom. These aren't just psychological ideas, they're neurochemical demands.
Okay, so novelty gives you a dopamine hit.
It does. Changing your routine, trying a new skill. It provides a healthy dopamine hit and stimulates growth in the hippocampus. But the feeling of freedom. The book argues that's the real amplifier.
The freedom that comes from setting boundaries.
Yes, those mini acts of rebellion. Deciding not to clean the kitchen when you're exhausted. Setting an unapologetic boundary. These acts liberate the authentic self.
And they give you a massive regulatory boost of serotonin and GABA.
You're neurochemically expanding yourself by saying no to cultural constraints.
Since the nervous system is so sensitive now, it's also vital to actively calm it. The book talks about deepening self-connection.
This means spending time alone, intentionally, removing yourself from the external stimuli that creates stress overload. Practicing self-compassion is crucial.
And the environment around us has to support that calm.
Yes. A UCLA study is referenced showing that women who described their homes as cluttered had consistently higher cortisol levels. So creating calm, nurturing environments is a direct physiological tool.
And of course, nature. Spending time in nature is not a luxury. It's medicine.
A 20-minute walk in a forest significantly reduces cortisol. It lowers heart rate, and critically, it reduces activity in the brain region associated with rumination and negative thought loops.
Nature provides a simple sensory calm that the newly sensitive nervous system just craves.
And finally, we have to talk about the emerging tool the book suggests is perfectly suited for this menopausal redesign. Microdosing psilocybin.
This needs to be approached intentionally.
Absolutely. The book is very specific. Psilocybin is metabolized into psilocin, which has a similar chemical structure to serotonin. It activates the 5-HT2A receptors in the prefrontal cortex, the exact mood and cognition centers that suffer from estrogen decline.
And the effect is an elevation of mood, heightened creativity, and deep insight.
What's fascinating is that the book describes it as the perfect antidepressant for this stage because it doesn't numb you. It connects you deeper into yourself. It gives you clarity on what works in your life and what needs to be released.
But the guidance is strict.
Very. You have to cycle it to maintain sensitivity, and you should work with a therapist familiar with psychedelics. The goal is redesign, not escape.
Okay, let's move on to fuel. The brain remodel requires a complete overhaul of how we approach nutrition.
This metabolic shift is crucial to grasp. Post-menopause, the brain is fundamentally less glucose sensitive. And this is by evolutionary design. It's preparing the body to go longer without food, just like the Hadzas.
But in the modern world, where high glucose is common, this backfires.
Terribly. High glucose now leads to chronic neuroinflammation, memory lapses, and it significantly increases the risk of type 3 diabetes, which is Alzheimer's. The message is clear. The postmenopausal brain does not handle glucose efficiently anymore.
So the solution is the primal menopausal diet. High fat, moderate protein, and the lowest possible levels of carbohydrates.
This framework aligns perfectly with what our primal ancestors ate. Real food, no processed sugars or starches. You're guiding your body back to its natural, resilient metabolic state.
Now, a key modification the book makes is that this low-carb approach still includes certain carbs, specifically tubers and legumes. Why?
They're included mainly for their prebiotic fiber, which is massive for gut health. This fiber supports the estrobolome, a specific part of the gut microbiome responsible for regulating estrogen metabolism.
So it helps your body manage the hormonal transition internally while stabilizing blood sugar.
Exactly. And they're rich in B vitamins and magnesium, which are needed for GABA and serotonin synthesis, the very mood molecules we're trying to rebuild.
Now for the superfuel the book raves about, ketones.
When you switch to burning fat, you produce ketones. And the menopausal brain finds them fundamentally more efficient than glucose. They provide a steady, clean energy source that bypasses that impaired glucose metabolism.
Dr. Pelz goes so far as to claim a brain on ketones is a limitless brain.
Because of the sustained focus and mental clarity you get. It's profound.
And this brings us to fasting protocols. The observation is that postmenopausal women thrive on longer fasts, 24 hours plus.
While short daily fasts are good for maintenance, the longer fasts are potent healing tools. 24, 36, 72 hours. They create a massive therapeutic ketone influx that rapidly addresses brain fog, memory loss, and mood imbalances.
And the transformative power of a 3-day water fast goes beyond just the physical.
During a 3-day fast, your body activates autophagy and stem cell production. It's killing off old, damaged cells and regenerating new ones. But here's the mental implication. Old cells often carry old thought patterns and limiting beliefs.
So as those cells are cleared and regenerate, the process clears mental and emotional clutter.
It leads to profound insights. The fast becomes a regeneration tool, a time to ask, what's no longer serving me, chemically and mentally?
Okay, let's talk exercise. This section addresses a cruel paradox. The routine that used to feel great now causes injuries and pain.
That's because of the collagen and creatine double whammy. Estrogen used to stimulate the production of both.
Collagen for joint cushion and connective tissue.
And creatine for muscle strength and brain energy. When estrogen declines, so do they, you lose the structural scaffolding that protects you during high-impact activities.
So we need hormone-smart movement. The key is to avoid continuous, long-duration, high-intensity cardio that spikes cortisol.
You don't want to max out your adrenals, which are taking over sex hormone production. The research is clear. Less is often more. Low to moderate activity is proven best for fat reduction while preserving muscle.
The sweet spot is 150 minutes a week of moderate intensity, like a brisk walk.
Exactly. And to directly mimic the load-bearing of our Hadza grandmothers and address bone loss, the book champions rucking.
Walking with a weighted vest or pack.
Yes, 10 to 20 pounds. It gives you excellent cardio demand and crucially creates the necessary impact to improve bone density without the trauma of running. Studies confirm that women who did this maintained or even improved hip bone density.
If you still crave that intense burn, you turn to HIIT for GH.
High-intensity interval training. Short bursts of maximal effort like 30-second sprints are exceptionally effective. They cause a significant surge in growth hormone, which promotes fat burning and muscle development without those prolonged cortisol spikes.
And finally, the most critical element, strength training for longevity.
This is non-negotiable. Lifting heavy weights 70 to 85% of your 1-rep max serves both a musculoskeletal and a neurological function.
It releases lactate for BDNF, building a sharper brain.
And musculoskeletally, it's the single most effective way to prevent and reverse bone loss. It can increase bone mass density by about 1% in a year, directly countering the natural decline.
The book uses grip strength as a fascinating metric.
It's a major predictor of aging and mortality risk. It shows that strength training isn't about vanity, it's about functional independence.
And you don't need fancy equipment. The simple, primal movement of squatting is essential.
It builds lower body strength, maintains hip flexibility, improves balance, and engages the pelvic floor. It's a vital movement for aging well.
Okay, final section of the toolbox. Sleep. The menopausal sleep struggle is almost universal.
It affects over 50% of women, and it's often tied to the loss of estrogen's regulatory power, leading to circadian dysregulation.
Estrogen used to regulate our master biological clock, the SCN.
And the pineal gland, which produces melatonin. When estrogen declines, that coordination breaks down. The SCN loses its battery. It doesn't know when to turn melatonin on or off.
So the solution isn't just a pill. It's replicating ancestral light-dark cycles. Light exposure matters most.
Getting natural, intense morning blue light is critical. You have to expose your eyes to it between 8 a.m. and 1 p.m. without sunglasses. This is the most powerful signal to reset your SCN timekeeper.
And conversely, your eyes need to register the absence of blue light and the presence of red light at sunrise or sunset.
To signal the SCN to ramp up or down melatonin. And artificial blue light at night, it's a disaster.
It suppresses melatonin production by up to 80%.
Causing a complete circadian nightmare for the already disrupted menopausal brain. Blue light blocking glasses are essential.
Another massive factor is temperature control.
Hormonal fluctuations make the brain's thermostat, the hypothalamus, hypersensitive. Your core temperature needs to drop a degree or two to signal deep sleep, so the room must be kept cool.
And what about tools like weighting and grounding?
Weighted blankets work because they apply deep touch pressure, which mimics a hug or heavy animal hides. It's been proven to increase calming neurotransmitters like oxytocin and serotonin while reducing cortisol.
And grounding.
Walking barefoot outside or using earthing mats. It soothes the nervous system. It promotes a shift out of fight or flight, which is essential for restorative sleep.
Finally, the connection between food timing and sleep.
This is where the advice to eat in the light comes from. When melatonin is secreted in the evening, insulin is naturally suppressed. Your body becomes insulin resistant at night.
So eating big meals late at night leads to unstable blood sugar and poor sleep.
Exactly. Eating the majority of your calories earlier in the day supports both insulin sensitivity and stabilizes your circadian rhythm. It's a powerful tool.
As we get into the final part of this deep dive, we look at the emotional and spiritual architecture of this transformation.
The entire process, from chaos to clarity, is mapped out in the heroine's journey, which has 5 stages.
Stage 1 is the hunch.
That internal whisper that something is fundamentally not right. You feel restless, the old coping tools don't work, and the roles you play feel heavy.
It's the caterpillar needing to build a chrysalis.
It's a deep ache, signaling that your outer world and inner truth are mismatched.
The second stage is the inevitable consequence of that hunch, the shedding.
This is where you actually start giving up those old, safe compliance behaviors, and it often brings a huge, confusing wave of guilt.
That guilt is a sign of progress, not failure.
Yes, as Nancy Levin suggests, that guilt is often a sign you finally did what you wanted. This phase of surrender, where the old self dies, is a moment of powerful neuroplastic change. You are dismantling the neural pathways of compliance.
And following the death of the compliant self is the grief.
The necessary trial. The painful work of releasing roles and identities that no longer fit. The fixer, the perpetually cheerful employee, the caregiver who never puts herself first.
It's the required initiation. The heroine is stripped of what once defined her.
To allow for the birth of a more expanded, wise, and authentic self. You can't carry the old baggage into the new you.
Stage 4 is the initiation. The new authentic self is birthed.
This is where women begin to create a congruent life. They question every boundary. They realize their new brain no longer tolerates conforming. The focus shifts from external authority to thinking for yourself.
And finally, the return.
Stepping back into the world, not to the old life, but to a new life with peace, clarity, and purpose. The brain is now operating in a state of measurable wisdom with superior emotional regulation and empathy.
But this journey shouldn't be walked alone. The book heavily emphasizes the power of community.
Loneliness is cited as being as risky as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. We heal in safe circles through co-regulation.
Our nervous systems literally fall into rhythm with a calm friend.
A process called sympathetic resonance. It moves our physiology from fight or flight into rest and digest. You borrow stability from a friend until your own system remembers how to find it.
And the author identifies 3 essential types of women for your inner circle.
Yes. First, you need the butterfly, The wise elder who models resilience and certainty. They show you what's possible.
Second, the potentialist.
The one with a fierce growth mindset who reminds you of your capability. They call you out gently when you argue for your limitations.
And third, the anchor.
The deep, thoughtful listener who sits with you while you process the chaos without trying to fix you. They give you the space to find your own answers.
These three types provide the mirror, the stability, and the vision for a successful transformation.
And this community model is supported by wise compassion and boundaries. Boundaries are the trunk of the lime tree, the central pillar that lets you show up authentically, rooted in yourself.
They create clarity and stop the performance of self-sacrifice.
And wise compassion is the recognition that suffering can be part of growth. Instead of rushing in to fix, you hold space and trust the woman's process. You give her power back to heal herself.
And finally, the note to loved ones is so vital for partners and family.
Remember, she is losing the chemical buffers that helped her people pleaser. Her neurochemical sensitivity is real. She's less numb to everything that isn't authentic.
So the message to partners is, your support must be presence, not management.
Yes, intentional words like, I see you, I'm here, and I trust your process are crucial. You are not meant to fix her, but to be her unwavering ally as she rises into her most powerful, wise self.
So what does this all mean for you as you navigate this transition, the core message of age? Like a girl is simple yet transformative. Your symptoms are not punishments.
They are signposts, signals of deep misalignment. Menopause is your get-out-of-jail-free card to shed old roles and step into the authentic, wise woman the world desperately needs.
This is a moment of unprecedented opportunity.
With more than 1 billion women worldwide entering this phase, our collective energy, our vitality, our compassion, our renewed mental clarity, it could change the course of human culture. We can shift the narrative from aging is scary to aging is empowering.
And that requires a radical shift in perspective. When brain fog appears, you don't say, what's wrong with me? I'm broken.
You reframe it. The old compliant neurons in my brain are pruning away to make way for a new, sharper, more honest brain to emerge. You trust the process.
The brain remodel is complete when you realize your true, unshakable worth comes from being in alignment with your own needs and truth, not by conforming.
You are not falling apart. You are fundamentally finding and rebuilding yourself. The pain and the chaos are a necessary part of building that strong, wise brain.
Which brings us to our final provocative thought for you to consider today. If your worth now comes solely from internal alignment rather than external conformity, what is one thing, one boundary, one people-pleasing commitment, or one draining behavior that you will stop doing today to honor the wise woman who is emerging?
Think about that. Your transformation is not just personal. It is your enduring legacy. We hope this deep dive helps you move into this phase of life with curiosity, reverence, and profound self-compassion.
We'll see you next time for the next deep dive into the resources you need to be well-informed and empowered.